Poor girl sat at the wrong table on a winter blind date, never knowing he was a millionaire. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into the story. Emma Brooks had never felt out of place in a restaurant before, but tonight, as she walked into one of the most expensive venues in New York City, she could already feel the eyes of the well-dressed patrons glancing her way. The soft hum of conversation and the clinking of silverware filled the air, the warm, subdued lighting casting a golden glow across the polished tables. It was the kind of place where every plate was a work of art, and every guest seemed to exude confidence. Emma, on the other hand, wasn't feeling confident at all. Her dress was secondhand, her shoes scuffed from a long day of working at the local diner, and her fingers trembled slightly as she held her phone. She had promised her best friend Jenny that she would go through with the blind date, but now that she was standing in the restaurant, she wasn't so sure. She scanned the room, nervously muttering to herself, "Table 7. Table 7." Her heart pounded in her chest. When her eyes finally landed on a man sitting alone at the back of the room, her breath caught in her throat. He was sharply dressed, his dark hair neatly styled, and he appeared to be absorbed in his phone. That had to be him, she thought. Taking a deep breath, she walked over, forcing a bright smile. "Hi, you must be Kevin," she said, her voice sounding more confident than she felt. The man looked up, startled, his eyes locking with hers for a moment before he blinked in confusion. Hi, Emma," he replied. Emma misread his hesitation as shyness, and with an awkward laugh, she slid into the seat across from him. "I know this is awkward, right? Blind dates are weird. Jenny told me you might be a little quiet. So don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us," she said, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. The man opened his mouth as if to correct her, but then hesitated. His business associate had just texted to cancel their meeting, and there was something about Emma's earnest smile that made him pause. She wasn't like the polished socialites he usually dealt with. She was genuine, and that intrigued him. He smiled faintly, leaning back in his chair. "Right, blind dates are something else," he said, the words coming out more lightly than he had expected. Emma laughed nervously and took a sip of water, trying to calm her nerves. "Tell me about it," she said. "Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy with work, you know." The man nodded, genuinely interested. "What do you do?" he asked, leaning in slightly. "I'm a waitress," Emma admitted, fiddling with the edge of her napkin. "Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills. Well, most of them, anyway. Enough about me, what do you do?" The man hesitated, not knowing how much to reveal. "I work in tech," he said vaguely, offering a smile. "Tech? That's cool," Emma said, her eyes lighting up. "Like coding and apps and stuff?" "I'm terrible with computers," she added with a laugh. The man chuckled softly, his smile widening slightly. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. Despite the awkward start, the conversation flowed surprisingly easily. Emma shared anecdotes about her shifts at the diner, her struggles with paying rent, and her dream of one day opening her own art studio. Liam found himself laughing more than he had in months. She was different from the women he usually met, polished and calculating. Emma, on the other hand, was refreshingly honest and vulnerable. She had no idea he was someone else, someone much more important than she could have imagined. As the night went on, they talked about everything, life, dreams, and even their fears. Emma never noticed the subtle glances Liam exchanged with the waiter, or the way his phone kept buzzing. He didn't want to correct her, not yet. He found himself wondering if he should tell her who he really was, but something about the connection they were building made him hesitate. For the first time in a long while, he didn't want to reveal his wealth. He wanted her to see him for who he really was, not for the millionaire he had become. As the weeks went by, Emma and Liam's accidental meeting turned into something more. They began to meet regularly, and Emma found herself looking forward to their conversations. Liam would text her, asking if she wanted to grab coffee or visit a museum, always keeping things light and easy. Despite their different worlds, they clicked. Emma talked about her dreams of becoming an artist, how she hoped to open a studio someday. She spoke about her struggles, the long hours at the diner, and the bills that piled up every month. She was real with him, something she had never been with anyone else. Liam, on the other hand, continued to keep his true identity a secret. He found it strangely refreshing not to be seen as a millionaire, but as just another person. He loved hearing Emma's stories about her day, the way she would laugh about the smallest things, and how she didn't care about impressing anyone. He realized he was starting to look forward to seeing her more than he had expected. One evening, after their usual coffee date, they found themselves walking through the park, the cold winter air crisp and biting. Emma had her hands tucked in her pockets, and Liam had his hands in his coat sleeves. They talked about everything and nothing, but the conversation turned more serious as they found a bench and sat down. Emma looked at him, a slight frown on her face. "You never really talk about your work," she said, her voice hesitant. "I mean, you said you work in tech, but what exactly do you do?" Liam looked at her for a moment, his expression unreadable. He had been careful not to let anything slip, but now, with the way Emma was looking at him, he felt like he couldn't hide it anymore. But still, he didn't want to tell her. He didn't want her to see him as anything other than the guy she had been talking to for weeks. He smiled, shrugging his shoulders. "Oh, just a lot of coding and software stuff," he said casually. "Not too exciting, really." Emma laughed softly, shaking her head. "You say that now, but I bet it's more interesting than you let on," she teased. "Maybe," he said, his smile barely hiding the secret he was keeping. But as he looked at her, he couldn't help but think about how much he wanted to tell her. Maybe one day, he would. As the night went on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Liam than he was letting on. She had already figured out that he wasn't just any guy. The way he dressed, the places they went, the things he said. There was something about him that didn't match up with his tech guy persona. But she didn't want to pry, and she certainly didn't want to ruin the connection they were building by pushing him. She liked him. She liked him a lot. And that, in itself, was enough for her for now. But little did she know, the truth about Liam was about to be revealed sooner than she thought. One evening, she received an unexpected invitation to a charity gala. When she walked into the event, the last person she expected to see was Liam. He was standing at the front of the room, shaking hands with some of the most influential people in the city. His suit, a perfect fit, and his presence made it clear that he wasn't just another tech guy. Emma stood frozen at the door, her heart racing. She looked around the room, hoping to see a familiar face, but all she could see were well-dressed guests and the glint of expensive jewelry. As she walked deeper into the room, she heard someone call out Liam's name. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guest of honor, Liam Parker." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Liam Parker. The name sounded so familiar, but it wasn't until she heard the words tech millionaire that it all clicked. She stared at him, speechless, as he turned to acknowledge the crowd. She had no idea that the man she had been getting to know was one of the wealthiest individuals in the tech industry. She felt a wave of embarrassment wash over her. Her heart sank as she realized the truth. She had been so naive, so wrong, and in that moment, everything felt different. She had no idea how to face him, how to react. She had no idea what to do next. The gala was everything Emma had expected and more. The room was filled with glittering chandeliers, crystal, glasses clinking, and the hum of sophisticated conversation. She felt out of place, her dress seeming too plain, her simple heels barely making a sound against the plush carpet. But nothing could make her feel more out of place than the realization that Liam Parker, the man she had been talking to for weeks, was the millionaire guest of honor. The truth hit her like a ton of bricks. She had been sitting across from a tech mogul, a man who owned companies, who had power, money, and influence. And yet, for all his wealth, he had chosen to spend time with her, a waitress. A flash of embarrassment flooded her chest. She looked around the room, wondering if anyone else had figured it out yet. The man she thought she knew was not the man she had been getting close to. She had been fooled. She felt her heart race as she slowly made her way toward the bar, hoping to find some space to collect herself. As she stood there, swirling her drink in silence, she heard someone call her name. "Emma." She turned and found Liam walking toward her, his warm smile in stark contrast to the cold storm brewing in her heart. "Liam," she replied, forcing a smile. "I didn't know you were." She couldn't finish her sentence, the words stuck in her throat. "A millionaire?" Liam finished for her, his expression softening. He could see the confusion in her eyes, the hurt, the disappointment. "I didn't want to tell you." I liked you for you, not for my bank account or my job. But I should have been honest. Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice trembling. We had something real, he said, stepping closer. I didn't want you to see me as just another rich guy who buys his way through life. I wanted to get to know the real you, and I wanted you to get to know the real me. Emma looked at him, the weight of his words settling in. She had trusted him, believed in the connection they had, but now it felt like everything was a lie. It's just, everything's different now, she said quietly, shaking her head. I don't know what to believe. Liam reached out, gently taking her hand. Emma, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. But please, let me explain. She pulled her hand away, feeling the distance growing between them. I don't know if I can just forget this, Liam. You lied to me. I didn't lie, he said, his voice full of sincerity. I kept the truth from you, but it wasn't to deceive you. I wanted to be with you without all the pressures that come with my wealth. I didn't think I needed to impress you with anything other than who I am. Emma bit her lip, struggling with the storm of emotions inside her. She couldn't deny that she had felt something real between them. But now, she wasn't sure if that connection was enough to bridge the gap between their two worlds. She turned away, looking out over the city skyline. The lights of the city twinkled, a sharp contrast to the dark cloud hanging over her thoughts. I need some time, Liam, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to figure things out. Liam stood still, watching her, knowing that he couldn't change the past, but hoping that he could still make things right. Take all the time you need, he said quietly. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. With that, Emma walked away, her heart heavy with confusion and doubt. She didn't know if she could trust him again, but one thing was clear, everything had changed. She needed to sort through her feelings before she could decide what to do next. And deep down, she knew that the path ahead wouldn't be easy. The days following the gala felt like a blur to Emma. She spent most of her time at the diner, trying to keep her mind occupied, but every time she closed her eyes, the image of Liam's apologetic face would appear. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was sincere, but the weight of his wealth, the lies by omission, and the secrecy about who he really was kept gnawing at her. Her friends and family noticed the shift in her mood, but she kept her emotions tightly guarded. She didn't want anyone to tell her what she already knew, that she had to make a choice. On the fourth day after the gala, she found herself sitting at a park bench, staring at the winter leaves that had already fallen. The air was crisp, and she wrapped her coat tighter around her, trying to get warm, but the chill inside her was far worse. She pulled out her sketchbook, the one she hadn't touched in days, and began to doodle absent-mindedly. Art had always been her escape, her passion, her dream. But now, she wasn't sure if any of it mattered. She had always believed that she'd find success through her own effort, her own talent. But with Liam's wealth and status, everything seemed so far away. She didn't know if she could go back to him, knowing what she knew now. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. Emma. She turned and saw Liam standing a few feet away, his hands in his coat pockets. His expression was unreadable, but there was a look in his eyes that made her heart skip a beat. Liam, she said, standing up slowly. I didn't expect to see you here. I know, he said, his voice quiet but firm. But I had to see you. I've been thinking about everything, about what you said at the gala, and I realize I didn't give you the space to explain things. Emma took a deep breath. There's nothing to explain, Liam, she said softly. You're a millionaire. You have a life that's completely different from mine, and that's fine. But I need something real, something that isn't about money or status. I don't know if I can trust you, not after everything. Liam's face tightened, but he didn't back down. I understand why you feel that way. I should have told you the truth from the start, but I was scared. Scared that if I told you who I really was, you wouldn't want to get to know me. And I didn't want to lose what we had. Emma looked down at the ground, her heart heavy. She had spent so much of her life struggling, trying to make ends meet, trying to build a future from nothing. The idea of having everything handed to her, money, opportunities, a life she could only dream of, felt both tempting and terrifying. Liam, I don't want things to be about your money, she said, her voice trembling. I want to know you. I want to know the person I've been talking to for weeks, not the billionaire CEO. I want to know if you care about me for who I am, not because I'm just someone you can impress. Liam stepped closer to her, his gaze steady. I care about you, Emma. Not because of your job or your financial situation. I care because of who you are, because of how you make me feel when I'm with you. I've never felt this way about anyone before. Emma swallowed, her emotions swirling inside her. She didn't know what to say, but she knew one thing. She couldn't go back to pretending like nothing had changed. I don't know if I can just forget what happened, she whispered. But I do know that I can't keep running from this. Liam nodded, his face softening. I'm not asking you to forget, Emma. I'm just asking for a chance. A chance to show you that I'm more than just my wealth. That I'm someone who can offer you something real. Emma looked into his eyes, and for the first time in days, she felt a spark of hope. Maybe there was still a chance for them. Maybe, just maybe, they could make it work. But it would take time. Okay, she said quietly. But we have to take it slow. I need to trust you again. Liam's smile was small but sincere. I understand. And I'll be patient. Whatever it takes. They stood there for a moment, the cold winter air swirling around them, but Emma no longer felt the chill. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. She wasn't alone in this anymore. The days that followed were filled with a mix of nervous excitement and uncertainty for Emma. She had agreed to give Liam a chance, but she wasn't sure what to expect. Their meetings became more frequent, though this time, things were different. They talked more openly, without the weight of secrets hanging over them. Liam had made it clear that he was willing to do whatever it took to prove that he was genuine. They spent their afternoons walking through parks, having quiet dinners at small, cozy restaurants, and even attending art galleries together. Liam's presence was comforting, and Emma found herself opening up more than she had in years. But despite everything, there were still moments of hesitation. Emma had been independent for so long. Her entire life had been about fighting for her dreams, struggling for every small victory. The idea of accepting help, of being in a relationship where money wasn't an issue, felt strange. It wasn't just the wealth that made her uneasy. It was the possibility that her dreams could be overshadowed by it. One afternoon, as they walked through a local park, Emma paused near a fountain, her mind racing. Liam, sensing her discomfort, stopped beside her. "What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice soft but concerned. Emma looked up at him, trying to find the right words. "I'm just thinking about everything," she said slowly. "It's hard, Liam. I've spent so long trying to make it on my own, to prove to myself that I can do it without anyone's help. And now, here you are, with all this wealth, and it's hard not to feel like I'm just some charity case." Liam reached out, gently placing his hand on hers. "Emma, you're not a charity case," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "You never have been. I admire everything you've done, everything you're still doing. But I want to be here for you, not because I have to, but because I want to. You don't have to prove anything to me. You've already shown me who you are." Emma swallowed hard, the weight of his words settling deep inside her. She had always believed that love and success had to be earned, that nothing should come easy. But now, standing next to Liam, she realized that maybe there was another way. Maybe love wasn't about earning it or proving yourself. Maybe it was about accepting it, trusting it, and allowing it to grow. As she looked at him, she felt a surge of emotions that she hadn't expected. She realized that she was falling for him, and it terrified her. But it also felt right. She took a deep breath, looking him in the eyes. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Scared that I won't be enough. That I'll be swallowed up by everything you have, by your world." Liam's grip on her hand tightened slightly, as if to reassure her. "You are more than enough, Emma. You've always been enough. And you don't have to be part of my world to be happy. I want you to live the life you've always dreamed of, and I want to be a part of it. But I'm not here to change who you are. I'm here because I love you for exactly who you are." Emma's heart swelled with emotion, her chest tightening. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel vulnerable, to feel like she wasn't alone. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the feeling wash over her. "I want this," she said quietly, the words coming out with more certainty than she had expected. "I want to try, Liam. But I need to know that it's not just about the money. That you're with me because of who I am, not because of what I can offer you." Liam smiled softly, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "It's never been about the money," he said. "It's always been about you, Emma. All I want is to be with you, to build something real, together." Emma smiled, a weight lifting from her shoulders. It wouldn't be easy, and there would be challenges ahead, but she was ready. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that love could be enough, that two people could come from different worlds and still find a way to make it work. She squeezed his hand, looking up at him with newfound hope. "Then let's take it one step at a time," she said softly. And for the first time, Emma felt a sense of peace, knowing that no matter what came next, they would face it together. The weeks that followed were filled with a quiet sense of optimism. Emma and Liam continued to spend time together, slowly finding a rhythm that worked for both of them. They went on walks through the city, shared meals at their favorite small restaurants, and, little by little, they allowed themselves to trust each other more. Emma's heart, which had once been guarded, began to open up to the possibility of a future with Liam. She had been hesitant at first, but now, she realized she had made the right choice in giving him a chance. But despite everything going smoothly, the world they lived in still felt like two very different places. Emma was still working long hours at the diner, struggling to make ends meet. Her dream of opening her art studio was alive, but it was a dream that felt just out of reach. Liam, on the other hand, continued to support her in subtle ways, offering encouragement, but always respecting her independence. He had made it clear from the start that he didn't want to take over her life, but there were moments when Emma could feel the weight of his world pressing against her own. She could see the look in his eyes whenever she mentioned her struggles with money. He wanted to help, but Emma never let him. She didn't want to feel like she was being saved. One evening, as they walked through a park after dinner, Emma spoke up, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Liam, I've been thinking," she said, hesitating before continuing. "I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I can't keep relying on you. I need to do this on my own." Liam looked at her, his expression soft but serious. "Emma, you don't have to do everything alone. I know how important your independence is to you, but that doesn't mean you have to shut me out. I'm here because I care about you. I don't want you to feel like I'm taking over your life." Emma stopped walking, turning to face him. "I know, and I do care about you," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "But I can't just accept your help and pretend that everything's okay. I need to prove to myself that I can make it, that I'm not just someone who gets handed things. I've worked so hard for everything I have, and I don't want that to change." Liam nodded, understanding her need for independence. "I get it, Emma, and I respect that, but you're not alone in this. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your own. I'm here, and I want to support you in any way I can, without taking away your strength." Emma's heart softened, the tension in her chest easing. She knew he was right. She didn't have to carry the burden alone. "I just don't want to lose myself," she said quietly. Liam smiled, gently placing his hand on hers. "You won't lose yourself. You'll find your way, and I'll be there every step of the way, cheering you on." Emma smiled, the words settling in her heart. She wasn't alone in this. She didn't need to shut Liam out to maintain her independence. They could build something together and still respect each other's space and dreams. As they continued their walk, Emma felt a sense of peace that she hadn't felt in a long time. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that whatever happened, they would face it together. For the first time, she allowed herself to fully embrace the love and support that Liam offered, knowing that it wouldn't take away her independence, but rather, it would make her stronger. The path ahead wasn't without its challenges, but with Liam by her side, Emma was ready to face whatever came next. It had been a few weeks since Emma and Liam had their heartfelt conversation in the park, and things were finally starting to feel like they were falling into place. Emma had been pushing herself harder than ever to balance her job at the diner, her art, and her relationship with Liam. She wasn't ready to completely let go of her independence, but little by little, she found herself accepting the support he offered, knowing that it didn't make her weak. Liam respected her need for space and never pushed her to rely on him, yet his presence was always a comforting constant in her life. One chilly evening, as they sat in a small cafe after work, sipping their warm drinks, Emma felt something shift between them. Liam had been unusually quiet that night, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He kept glancing at his phone, his fingers tapping restlessly against his cup. Finally, Emma couldn't take it any longer. "Liam, what's going on?" she asked, her voice gentle but filled with concern. Liam hesitated for a moment before setting his phone down on the table and meeting her gaze. It's my business," he said, his voice tight. "There are some big changes happening, and I've been trying to figure out how to deal with it all. I'm sorry if I've been distant." Emma's heart sank, knowing how much Liam's work meant to him. "What kind of changes?" she asked, her brow furrowing. Liam let out a deep sigh, his shoulders slumping slightly. "There's been some restructuring at the company, and I've been pulled into some complicated decisions. It's been stressful. I've been trying to handle it on my own, but it's getting harder." Emma reached across the table, placing her hand over his. "Liam, you don't have to go through this alone. I'm here for you, no matter what." He looked at her, his expression softening. "I don't want to burden you with this. You've got enough on your plate already." Emma shook her head. "You're not burdening me. We're in this together, remember? I don't care what it is. We'll face it together, just like we've been doing with everything else." Liam smiled faintly, grateful for her unwavering support. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Emma," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "You've helped me more than you'll ever know." Emma squeezed his hand. "And I'm not going anywhere, Liam. Whatever happens with your business, we'll handle it. I believe in you." They sat in silence for a few moments, both lost in their thoughts. The weight of the situation still hung in the air, but Emma felt a quiet sense of confidence that they would make it through. After all, they had already overcome so much together. As they left the cafe and walked out into the night, the cold air brushing against their faces, Emma couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of determination. They had both fought for their dreams and faced challenges along the way. But now, they had each other. And that, she realized, was what really mattered. No matter what happened next, they would continue to move forward together. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but Emma knew they could handle anything as long as they had each other. Liam's hand brushed against hers, and for the first time in a while, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her. They would figure it out, step by step, side by side. There was no turning back, and for the first time in a long time, Emma was excited to see what the future held. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam grew closer, their bond stronger with each passing day. Their lives had started to merge, yet they still remained very much themselves. Emma continued working hard at the diner, while Liam focused on his business. But their connection, the understanding between them, was undeniable. There were still challenges, but now they faced them together. One evening, as they sat at Liam's apartment, quietly sharing a meal, Emma noticed a new energy in the air. Liam seemed distant, his mind somewhere else. She could tell something was weighing on him, and she knew it wasn't just work. "Liam, what's going on?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm. Liam looked up from his plate, his expression weary. "It's this project I've been working on. It's huge, and it's consuming all my time and energy. The pressure is getting to me." Emma reached across the table, placing her hand over his. "You've been carrying all this on your own for too long," she said softly. "You don't have to do everything by yourself. You have me." Liam smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I know," he said quietly, "but I don't want to drag you into all of this. I know what it's like to be overwhelmed, and I don't want you to feel the weight of it too." Emma squeezed his hand, looking at him intently. "Liam, we've been through a lot together. We've had our ups and downs, but we've always had each other. I want to be there for you, just like you've been there for me. Don't shut me out." His eyes softened as he met her gaze. "I didn't mean to shut you out," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I just don't want to burden you with everything. But I'm realizing now that I can't do this alone. I need you, Emma, more than I ever thought I would." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with affection. "I'm here," she said, her voice steady. "And I'm not going anywhere." The weight in the room seemed to lift, and Liam took a deep breath, as though a burden had been released. He reached for her hand, holding it tightly. "Thank you," he whispered. "You have no idea what this means to me." Emma leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "We're in this together. Always." As the days went by, the pressure Liam had been feeling seemed to ease. The weight of his work didn't feel as heavy with Emma by his side. Together, they made decisions, tackled challenges, and found comfort in the fact that they were facing it all together. Liam's work was still demanding, but now it wasn't the only thing in his life. He had Emma, and that made all the difference. One afternoon, as they walked through the park, enjoying the crisp air and the quiet around them, Liam turned to Emma, his expression serious. "I've been thinking," he began, "about us, about everything we've been through, and I realized something." Emma looked up at him, curiosity in her eyes. "What is it?" she asked. Liam stopped walking, taking her hands in his. "I don't want to waste any more time," he said softly. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Emma. I want to build a future together, and I want you to be by my side, always. Emma's breath caught in her throat, her heart racing. She hadn't expected this, but in that moment, she realized she had been waiting for it. Liam, are you saying yes? He interrupted, smiling. I want to marry you. I want to give you everything, not because I can, but because I want to. You've changed my life, Emma, and I can't imagine my future without you in it. Tears welled in Emma's eyes, and she nodded, her voice shaky with emotion. Yes, she whispered. I want that too. Liam smiled, his heart full of relief and joy. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. As they stood there in the park, surrounded by the beauty of the world around them, Emma realized that everything they had been through, all the struggles and the challenges, had led them to this moment. And with Liam by her side, she knew that together, they could face anything that came their way. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of possibilities. And for the first time, Emma felt truly at peace, knowing that love, trust, and partnership were the foundations of their future. The weeks that followed their heartfelt moment in the park were filled with a sense of contentment that Emma had never thought possible. The weight of uncertainty had lifted, replaced by a calm certainty about the future. Liam and Emma had found their balance, each supporting the other while respecting their individual dreams and aspirations. They had faced the pressures of their different worlds and emerged stronger for it. Liam's business challenges didn't disappear, but they were now manageable with Emma by his side. Her presence brought him peace, and he worked tirelessly to find a way to balance his professional obligations with the personal life he was building with her. They moved into a small apartment together in a quieter part of the city, far from the hectic pace of Liam's office, but close enough for him to stay connected to his work. Emma's art began to take center stage in her life. With the emotional support Liam offered, she felt encouraged to pursue her dream of opening an art studio. She poured her heart into her paintings, and slowly, her works began to gain recognition. It wasn't an overnight success, but Emma didn't mind. She had always believed that hard work and persistence would lead her to where she needed to be, and with Liam's unwavering support, she knew that she was on the right path. A few months later, Liam surprised her one evening after they had finished dinner. He had been quiet all day, and Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something important was coming. As they sat on the couch, Liam took her hand and looked at her with a smile that was both warm and a little nervous. Emma, he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. There's something I've been thinking about for a while now, and I don't want to wait any longer to ask you. Emma's heart skipped a beat, and she squeezed his hand, her eyes wide with curiosity. What is it, Liam? She asked softly. Liam stood up, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a small box. As he opened it, Emma's breath caught in her throat. Inside was a delicate ring, sparkling in the soft light of the room. Emma, will you marry me? Liam asked, his voice filled with sincerity and love. Emma's eyes filled with tears as she looked up at him. She had dreamed of a future like this, but never in a million years did she think it would be possible. Yes, she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Yes, I will. Liam's face lit up, and he took her hand, slipping the ring onto her finger. They embraced, holding each other tightly as the reality of the moment sank in. They had been through so much together, emotional struggles, personal doubts, and the challenges of navigating their very different worlds. But in that moment, Emma knew that everything they had fought for had led them to this. They were building a life together, one full of love, respect, and the promise of a future where they could both thrive. The wedding was simple but beautiful, surrounded by the people who had supported them along the way. Emma wore a dress that made her feel beautiful but, more importantly, made her feel like herself. Liam looked at her with such adoration, and she knew that this was the beginning of something wonderful. As they exchanged vows, Emma promised to always support Liam's dreams, just as he had supported hers. And Liam promised to always stand by her side, no matter what challenges they faced. Their love had survived the test of time, and they were ready to face whatever came next. In the years that followed, they continued to build a life they were both proud of. Emma's art studio flourished, and Liam's business found new success. All the while, they never stopped supporting each other. Together, they found the balance between their dreams and their love. And as they looked ahead, they knew that no matter what the future held, they would always face it together, hand in hand. In this heartwarming story, follow the journey of a woman as she navigates through life's challenges, love, and unexpected twists. Discover how a chance encounter with a man leads to a transformative relationship, filled with both trials and triumphs. As they face obstacles in their personal lives and careers, their love and mutual support grow stronger. This narrative unfolds like many other captivating millionaire stories, revealing how love, trust, and perseverance can overcome any barrier. In this particular tale, a woman is swept into the world of a millionaire who's trying to keep his identity a secret. As their bond deepens, secrets are revealed, and the couple must navigate the complexities of wealth and emotional connection. Throughout their journey, they learn that it is not money that defines their relationship, but the trust and understanding they share. The story is not only about love, but also about growth, self-discovery, and the way two people can heal and support each other. These millionaire stories always seem to surprise with the depth of emotional connection that can emerge when you least expect it. As the characters in this story grow, they learn that the true richness in life comes from love and shared dreams. With each new chapter, they discover that true happiness lies not in material wealth, but in the priceless connections we make along the way. This tale stands as one of many incredible millionaire stories, reminding us that no matter how different two worlds may seem, love always has the power to bring people together. As the couple's journey continues, they face both the joys and struggles of building a future together, proving that love and commitment can overcome even the most unexpected challenges. These millionaire stories leave us with a valuable lesson. The greatest treasures in life are the ones we can't buy.